I still feel really good. I had a bit of trouble falling asleep because I was still so happy. Like, oh. But no, I had a good night and I feel really ready for today. We have a small squad, but a really strong squad. So I'm really looking forward to today and enjoy it in this jersey. This leader jersey in the World Tour is something else.
I wouldn't say it was out of control, but of course we had to control the situation. I think we and also others. I think Femke de Vries and Lauren Dixon are not people you want to give 2 minutes. So I think we did good as a team. I think my team did what they could and we were good to control it. But of course, like to come out with the bonification, it's almost 50 seconds. It's not nothing. And I also was a bit surprised that other big GC competitors didn't assist more. Like there were moments we ourselves had to ride and they didn't assist in this riding. And if you stop completely, there is so much more time that you immediately get. So I was a bit surprised about that.
Yeah, actually quite similar from yesterday. Probably they will try to isolate the yellow jersey and to drop her somehow. It's going to be a tough task because she's very strong at the moment. De Vries is really impressive. And the warmth for sure will play a big role in today's stage.
Das große Finale erwarten wir kurz nach 12 Uhr. 12:15 Sondreon nella frazione inaugurale. Questa mattina appunto si presenta il di questa seconda tappa conosciuta tra l'altro tra le file del Velo Club Locarno e Ivan Rengli, atleta Paralens per la classifica punti, maglia blu della Lidl vestita da Dixon, mentre Cedric Hervao, tappa della Tour de Suisse donne. Allora ci siamo, parte in questo istante la seconda tappa della Tour de Suisse donne.
Hi Richard, hi MCR in Milan, can you hear me? Good, good. Ready to roll. Roof still open. Burning to a crisp. Lovely day out. Anyways, living the dream people, living the dream. Good morning and welcome. We are in Switzerland for stage 2 of the Tour de Suisse. 105 kilometers today for the riders with another punchy finale, albeit not as difficult as what we saw today. A difficulty that we do add to today's stage is the weather. It is very, very hot out here, and the riders were preparing with slushies this morning, and a lot of ice socks were going around in the peloton. At the start and already right now in the race as well. The team cars are being called to the peloton constantly to provide drinks and a little bit of cooling down. This is where we had the start earlier this morning, 9:15 local time. We are in Locarno with the beautiful Madonna del Sasso and the funicular railway up there. This is the Lago Maggiore. It's an absolutely stunning town known for its film festival, known for the 1925 Locarno treaties, and yeah, just a very high-end, very fashionable town where you can really enjoy both the hustle and bustle of the city as well as the beautiful surroundings that we have here. Today, the stage was won by Femke de Vries of the Visma Lease bike team. The 33-year-old got her very first professional win, her first World Tour win, and on top of that, the first leader's jersey in a World Tour race. It was a day of first for this late bloomer in cycling. She only started when she was 23. She rode a really smart sprint there, forcing the lead upon Lauren Dixon, and finishing it off and giving out some bubbly interviews that would make everybody happy watching it, let alone experiencing it as a rider yourself. The smallest team out there, just 4 riders on the start line, but yeah, they defend that leader's jersey. This was earlier this morning, around 8:45. Look at that smile, it's still there.
La maglia gialla Primeo Energie viene premiata da Patrizia e la responsabile del progetto sponsorizzazioni ed eventi di Primeo Energie. Gli applausi di Sondrio sono per la maglia gialla, domani sarà via con le insegne di leader della classifica generale al Tour de Suisse, Femke de Vries, Visma Lease bike.
And this is the classification. Femke de Vries leads Lauren Dixon by 4 seconds. The bonus seconds on the line. Cédrine Kerbol attacked from the bunch, and then we've got 6 riders in the 48-second bracket. And Julie Berthet already a minute behind. The difference is rather big after one stage only, but we still have quite a lot to go here in Tour de Suisse. She holds quite a lot of jerseys, does Femke de Vries. But the blue jersey for the points classification is worn by Steffi Heberlin, by Lauren Dixon. The points classification, the GPM is worn by Megan Adams. The points classification by Dixon. And the best young rider is Cédrine Kerbol. This is today's course. It's 105.6 kilometers. With 1,250 meters of elevation, but most of that comes in the final 45 kilometers. Yet again, we go through the valley, take a little tour there. There's a climb, the uncategorized climb to the lovely town of Malvalia. Then we go back to Biasca through Lodrino, 27 kilometers, where there's 6 bonus seconds on offer. Just like yesterday, the sting is in the tail. We've got 2 climbs in the final 17 kilometers and a very strong, a very sharp descent into town onto the shores of the Lago Maggiore, and a corner at 200 meters to go.
I still feel really good. I had a bit of trouble falling asleep because I was still so happy and like But no, I had a good night and I feel really ready for today. We have a small squad but a really strong squad, so I'm really looking forward to today and enjoy it in this jersey. This leader jersey in the World Tour is something else.
I wouldn't say it was out of control, but of course we had to control the situation. I think we and also others. I think Femke de Vries and Lauren Dixon are not people you want to give 2 minutes. So I think we did good as a team. I think my team did what they could and we were good to control it. But of course, like to come out with the bonification, it's almost 50 seconds. It's not nothing. And I also was a bit surprised that other big GC competitors didn't assist more. Like there were moments we ourselves had to ride and they didn't assist in this riding. And if you stop completely, there is so much more time that you immediately get. So I was a bit surprised about that.
Yeah, actually quite similar from yesterday. Probably they will try to isolate the yellow jersey and to drop her somehow. It's going to be a tough task because she's very strong at the moment. De Vries is really impressive, and the warmth for sure will play a big role in today's stage.
Here we go. A little bit of shade there for the riders on the front row. Here we have Lauren Dixon in that blue jersey. It's a little bit confusing. The blue jersey is the points jersey, and the green jersey here with Megan Adams is the Queen of the Mountains jersey. White jersey is as it should be for the best young rider, and that is Cédrine Kerbonne. Not really different from the normal jersey Femke de Vries wears in her daily racing. It's exactly the same shade of yellow as she wears in her normal day routine. This is the Valley of the Ticino. And I promise you, the views today will be absolutely on point yet again. I cannot describe to you how absolutely stunning Switzerland is this morning and yesterday night for that matter, when I did a little bit of the course on my own bike. So sit back, enjoy, and hopefully the racing is going to be as exciting as it was yesterday. Like I said, the sting is going to be in the tail. There is a little bit of a climb, very gradual climb. Maximum gradient was around 4.5%. That is after 42.5 kilometers. They should be arriving there more or less now in Biasca and in Malvalia. We take this road in and out the valley basically, so we're doing the same road back. We see big granite quarries there on the left hand side of the road. It's a big industry in this part of the valley, and the peloton is cruising along nicely. There's hardly any wind to cool them down. Sometimes a little bit of a sweeping wind coming down from the mountains, but it is incredibly hot out here. And the riders are feeling that heat. So I think it's going to be put a damper on the attacking spirit just a little bit. And you can see that, bunch is more or less together. Everything is about hydration at this point. Stay hydrated, stay as cool as you possibly can. Most riders wear core sensors. That is a brand name, but it's a temperature sensor they wear around their waists, and it gives an indicator of their core temperature on the bike computer, on the head unit they have on their bikes. Of course, if it's already too high, you're too late to act. But yeah, these things are more or less important for the trainers in all the files they get uploaded after the stage. Looks like we had a little bit of a nature break here and a trip back to the cars for the UAT Media Q, and also our runner-up in the stage yesterday. And the wearer of the blue jersey. It's a jersey that she has on loan. The points jersey, she's of course the runner-up in that jersey. With 14 points, the Vries got 16, not only at the finish line, but also at the intermediate sprint. We're going to have an intermediate sprint today as well. That's going to be at 23.1 kilometers. So it's all about waiting right now before the first pinch points of the day come along, and that is the Tissot kilometer at 45k from the line. A lot of riders lost a significant amount of time yesterday, and that could possibly open up the racing, because there's many riders out there who have basically nothing to lose anymore in terms of GC. Many teams out there as well who have not a lot to lose in terms of GC. So if you want to try and win a stage, today is the day to do so, and that is what we're seeing. We know that Little Trek don't really have anybody left in the GC to fight for a good position. Best ranked rider at the moment is 16th. That is Ricarda Bauernfeind. Lucinda Brandt on the attack straight away. She's of course a master descender, World Cyclocross champion. Absolutely dominant season this year by her in the cyclocross races. Everything really fell into place for Lucinda this year, apart from the very sad fact that the cyclocross season she experienced was well, not cut short, but in the cyclocross season just before she won the race on Sicily, her mother passed away. And it shows the incredible strength of these riders, both mentally and physically, that they can continue and draw strength from such a horrible, horrible experience. Lucinda Brandt is a super experienced rider, one of the most experienced riders out here. I think she's first and foremost the cyclocross rider nowadays. But of course, like most of the cyclocross riders across the men's and women's peloton, they use these races in May and June, sometimes a little bit into July, to prepare for the cyclocross season that starts usually early to mid-October. It's hard to think about cyclocross at the moment because it is over 30 degrees out there. The indicator that we saw on the screen said 24, but I promise you it's a little bit warmer than that. And 30 degrees is close to 90 Fahrenheit for those of you joining me from across the Atlantic. And all of a sudden the pace is up, and we like a good race. I think we were in the best position yesterday when it comes to attractive bike racing when you were watching the women's race like we are doing right now. Because we really drew the longest stick when it comes to truly exciting racing. Marta Lach in second position, Marie Lenette as well. The attack has been neutralized, but it shows that there are intentions at the moment to really make the racing hard. Visma Leasebike, of course, is the only team here with just 4 riders, and that makes it a rather big challenge to control the race. This is Loretta Hansen, I think alongside Lea Curigny. Steffi Heberlin follows along for SD Works. This is the town of Biasca. This is a little detour that we are going to take to include this small road that is coming up right after we exit this town. We go off the main road, we go down the main road on our way back, but we're going on some sort of bike path, which is interesting and just great to see because it shows you the riding infrastructure here in Switzerland as well. There's bike lanes on many of these roads. Drivers are very considerate towards bike riders, and in many places there's even dedicated bike paths. Loretta Hansen, the rider in the front at the moment. Hard to see whether that is the Swiss national champion or maybe somebody from the Phoenix de Koning team. We had one rider abandoning yesterday. That was Linda Zanetti, normally racing for UNOX. But now for the Swiss national team, meaning we have 92 riders today. This is the bike path that I was talking about. So we've got the main road there. That's where we're going down if we do this little loop to the north in the valley. But this is a great little road. It's not a dedicated bike path, but it's a very safe place to be. Look at that. Best advertisement for riding in this region that I can give you. At the back we find Valentina Vinerucci, the only rider for San Marino. San Marino, a very small state inside the country of Italy, and one of the countries making its debut this year in the Tour de Suisse. The other is Mauritius, and that is of course the home nation of Kim Lecourt-Pinard. And she already showed last year, that last stage yesterday, that her form is absolutely there. She was a little bit hesitant when I spoke to her yesterday morning before the start about her form. She broke her wrist, had surgery in it after a crash in the Tour of Flanders early April. This is her first race back, building towards the Tour de France, and she was already among the GC favourites. And of course, with her mountain bike background that she has, and the technical finale that we have today, with that final climb at 8.3 kilometers and the hairpins back to the Lago Maggiore, back to Locarno here, I think she's one of the big favourites for today. It's one of the human-powered health riders. At the front at the moment. Margot, Carlotta Cipressa and Margot van Pachtebeke are the two riders at the front at the moment. And this is where the road starts to rise. It's not a hard climb. It is, like I said, a maximum 4.9 is what I saw on my bike unit yesterday. And the nice thing is that it is mostly in the shade. The other side on the descent is in the sun. There's quite a lot of forested area here, so that will come as a nice little surprise, a nice little relief for the riders. These are the kind of stages that the riders have not done a recon of. Everything comes of watching VeloViewer, for example. Megan Adams is currently the wearer of the Queen of the Mountains classification. She's actually fourth in that classification, but because De Vries is already wearing the leader's jersey, Steffi Hebelin is the national champion. The rule is if you are a placeholder, so to say, for a jersey, so if you are not the actual leader in the classification, your national jersey, European World Champions jersey, tops a jersey that you get on loan, so we skip her. Then third on that classification, we find Lauren Dixon, who's already wearing the The third on that classification, we find Citrine Kerval, the third on the stage yesterday, but she's already the leader in the white jersey classification. So we end up with Megan Arends, the fourth in that classification. So as a commentator, you have to know your rule book, because sometimes it comes in handy when you have to explain these kind of things. We got one counter-attacking, Race Radio tells me, with former British champion Alice Towers. There she is in second position. We got even one rider wearing a long sleeve jersey. Of course, the fabrics that we use for the jerseys nowadays are so high-tech, very breathable, and that means that, you know, you can wear long sleeves even in these very hot conditions if you have a tendency to burn easily, for example, or you want to protect your skin. And that is exactly what we saw with the UAE Team ADQ rider, Maeve Squibon. Situation at the moment, 63 kilometers to go. Two leaders, Carlotta Cipressi, not Cipressa, that is Milan Sanremo. Carlotta Cipressi from Forli. She is 23 years young, finished the Giro d'Italia last week, and races for the human-powered health team. And alongside her, we find Margot van Pachtebeke from the town of Lauwe, which is near Wevelgem, that we of course know from Gent-Wevelgem. She had a crash on the second stage of the Vuelta, had to abandon. She hurt her coccyx, so that is your tailbone actually. And that is a nasty injury because you can't sit down on your saddle. It's something that you feel all the time, and to basically try and avoid the pain that you have in that tailbone, in that coccyx, you start to walk differently, you start to adjust your posture, so all the muscles and everything starts to get realigned. It's a very complicated injury to heal from. She herself, Margot van Pachtebeke, is a physical therapist, so she will know very well how that affects her and what kind of exercises she has to do. About that long sleeve jersey that we saw on Maeve Squibon of UAE Team ADQ, my friend Saad tells me something very interesting. I didn't know that, but Maeve Squibon actually has burns on her lower arms. She crashed in the Vuelta, and yeah, that is one of the reasons that she protects her lower arms, because of course the skin is still healing. It's very sensitive. And that brings me to another discussion that I got asked on Instagram yesterday, why many riders are now not wearing gloves anymore. Because if you crash and you have an injury on your hands, it's such a gnarly injury to have, because the skin, yeah, it's just a bad injury to have. But I don't actually know why many riders decide against gloves at the moment. You can see now with Wout van Aert, little sidestep to the men's peloton, that a very small wound. Wout van Aert crashed on a time trial bike training on his elbow, and it looked rather small. And when he started the Tour Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes last week, well, we have a crash here with Marta Lach and the yellow jersey. Crash with Marta Lach and the yellow jersey involved there as well. Lach has to get the chain back on. Also, one of the riders of the Swiss national team involved, but Marta Lach seems to need a new bike there. And these are the dangerous situations for Femke de Vries, because there's only 4 riders on the team. Immediately, we see that Katarina Zatnik and also Victoria Gladonova are bringing her back. They're behind the team car. Judging from her body language, she's not in any state of panic. And on this climb, it's easy to come back. Yeah, I don't see any obstacles on the road. Might just been a little touch of wheels. it's never ideal to get to an abrupt stop from, I think they were doing 30-ish at the moment, to get to a certain sudden stop. Can be a little bit of a shock to the system, but yeah, she looks fine. Seeing if we can find some injuries. Luckily she is wearing gloves. Yeah, needs a bottle there, and especially ice socks. She doesn't have room for a new bottle on the bike, so she has to get rid of one, or maybe bringing one to her colleagues, but most of them will be behind her because they guided her back to the peloton. No, this is one to put on your body. We still have those two riders up front. Margot van Pachtenbeke is a Belgian rider of the Lidl track team, and Carlotta Cipressi of the human-powered health team, led by former Paris-Roubaix winner Magnus Backstedt. And this is where we turn left on this rather wonderful bridge, and then we have a very lovely town that we're going through. Hopefully we'll get a view of the wooden church that you find on the left-hand side right there. I always hope that the riders do get to enjoy the views of this rather spectacular part of the world. The valley that we're racing through is called Valle di Belenio. There's the church there with the tiled roof, and over the bridge over the Ticino. On the left-hand side we see our yellow jersey moving up. That is the church that I was talking about, the very old church. Little orchard behind it. Look how picturesque that actually is. Next to the church, a little bit like 300 meters down the road, I saw a herd of sheep and a big fluffy white sheepdog, and a few donkeys as well. This is the final part of the climb, and then we have a long descent back to Biasca, where the gradients are considerably higher than on the other side of the river Ticino, but not a technical descent at all. This is exactly the same finale as the men are going to do later today. And that starts 3:25, come on, 3:25 p.m. local Swiss time, with, of course, Tadej Pogačar in that yellow jersey. It's Tess Moerman alongside Urška Sigard. Maybe you remember me talking about the descending of Urška Sigard, which has never been her strong suit. She has been working a lot on it, but she did have a very bad crash on the final stage of the Giro d'Italia, where she almost went over the barrier on one of the sides of the road. And of course, that kind of dampened her confidence on the descent. And that's what she felt yesterday as well. She was, of course, in that group of three at the front alongside Femke de Vries and Lauren Dixon. This is her first race back after the Giro d'Italia for Urška Sigard. And yeah, you can imagine that she's still got a little bit of wobbly legs after having such a horrible crash in the Giro d'Italia. So a good moment to clear up that question from yesterday's stage. Our two leaders, the gap is going out at the moment. .38 seconds at the moment for Carlotta Cipressi. I'm going to make that mistake quite a lot of times, I'm afraid, because we're so used to the Cipressa, one of the penultimate climb, of course, in Milan-San Remo. Margot van Pachtenbeke. Cipressi is a 12 minutes and 1 second down on GC. Van Pachtenbeke is 18 minutes and 27 seconds down on GC. She's a rider who started her career rather late. She was another rider, actually, on horseback before, the rider in second position. But in Belgium, they had this campaign a couple of years ago called Koers zoekt vrouw in Dutch. So race is looking for women. And it was an initiative of Cycling Flanders, the federation there, to get more women on bikes. And her sister actually entered that competition, and she asked Margot along. Margot had more talent than her sister-in-law, and she had a breakthrough in 2023 when she was racing with the Volker Wessels team, then still called Parkhotel Valkenburg, and in the Brabantse Pijl she had a 7th place. So that was actually her first breakthrough. She was already 23 by that time. Sadly, the 2023 season was cut short by another major injury. I just mentioned the injury to the coccyx, to the tailbone, but the injury that she had in the Baloise Ladies Tour in July of 2023 was even worse. She broke some vertebra in her neck. A very long recovery process from that, and she had to be really, really careful with the recovery from that moment, because she might have been paralyzed if she'd taken it a little bit too soon. A nice fact about Carlotta Cipressi is that she is also an artist, making some really nice oil paintings. Actually really nice. If you want to follow her on the Instagram, it's CIP from Cipressi .art gallery. I'm actually really impressed. It looks really beautiful. I would have loved to have one of those paintings on my wall. So, multi-talented riders. Margot van Pachtenbeke, a graduated physical therapist. Carlotta Cipressi, an artist and a very accomplished painter, if you look at her Instagram. That's what I love about the women's peloton. We have 2 doctors in the top 10, with Femke de Vries in our leaders jersey, with Marlen Reusser, of course, being a graduated doctor as well. Femke de Vries, until quite recently, was working as a doctor in geriatric care, but now she's made the full-time switch to the World Tour team of Visma Lease Bike. That was in 2024. She has put that career as a doctor, as a physician, to the side. Of course, in the future she'll return to that to go for this career on the bike, and it's going rather well, I want to say, for Femke. We have quite a few Femkes actually in pro racing. Femke Marcus, of course, racing here. We had Femke Beuling, who was with Volker Wessels, the life partner of Zoe Backstedt. It's not that everybody in the Netherlands is actually called Femke, trust me. It is a popular name, but it's just a coincidence that we have quite a few Femkes out here. It is a word for femme that we know from French, of course, which means girl, woman. And Famke or Femke comes from the Frisian language, the second official language of the Netherlands. Famke just means girl, and it's quite a popular name. And talking about popular names, De Vries is actually the most popular surname in the Netherlands, with the exact same origin story, meaning that it is somebody from the province of Friesland. It is 3rd in that list of most common surnames in the Netherlands, De Vries. Before that, we have Jansen, like, for example, Eline Jansen, stage winner last week in the Tour de Pyrénées. And the most popular surname in the Netherlands is De Jong, which, of course, we also have an example of here in this race. There, with number 61, Talita De Jong. So, it's time to learn some things. Gap is stabilizing around the 40-second mark. And now we're on the same main road again. We go through this small town. Not small town, this town of Biasca, and that means that we're now getting closer to the Tiso sprint. So we're basically doing the same way out of the valley as we did back in until we end up in Carrasco, just outside of Bellinzona, and that's where we start that really tricky finale. We're making our way to the Lago Maggiore, which is on the border between Italy and Switzerland. Second largest lake in Italy. And here on the Swiss side of the Lago Maggiore we find Locarno. We see Movistar at the front. It was a very typical Marlene Reusser interview that she gave, that she seemed a little bit dismayed by the fact that nobody came out to help them in the chase yesterday. Despite the fact that, for example, there were a few riders of EF Education Oatly in that group as well, with Cédrine Kerbol. Also Alice Towers was out there. Gap is going up right now. 55 is what race radio tells me right now. These riders are no danger to the general classification. But since yesterday's stage, the riders who have a shot at winning this year's Tour de Suisse, it's become a rather small group. So, as I said before, many of the teams will be focusing on that stage win, including Lidl Trek, including Human Powered Health. Lidl Trek here led by the ever lovely Ina Joko Teutenberg, one of the best riders of her generation. And Human Powered Health led by Magnus Backstedt, sports director and cycling commentator as well. But not at the same time. That would be weird. no reaction whatsoever coming from the peloton at all. They have come to almost a complete standstill. Everybody's using these wide roads into Lodrino to get some refreshments. Ah, look at that. This is what I promised you. The sights. This is the waterfalls that comes from the stream called Ri della Froda, and it ends up in the Ticino River. It takes you about 30 minutes from the village square here in Biasca. Lots of caves here in this part of the world as well. And along the pathway to the falls, which is a little bit higher than what we're looking at right now, there's also 14 chapels with mosaics of contemporary artists. So maybe in the future, our artists in residence in this peloton, Carlotta Cipressi, can actually contribute to that. We're well over half into this stage right now. 14 kilometers to Bellinzona. That is where we have our intermediate sprint coming up. But first we got that Tissot sprint that not only gives you 3, 2 and 1 seconds for GC, which is completely irrelevant for these two riders at the front, but also a nice Tissot watch, one of the main partners here of Tour de Suisse. Sprint is coming up in 2 kilometers from now. Our intermediate sprint is in the town of Lodrino. We are in Ticino, like I said, the canton, which is an administrative entity here in Switzerland. 1,500 inhabitants in Lodrino, and most known for its canyoning on the river Ticino, with the huge waterfalls. One of them we just saw, the gneiss stones, and yeah, lots of adventure. It's a very technical canyon with drops that are rather significant. This is Justine Gekire taking a bottle. Oh, it's a slippery one. Of course, these bottles, they come out of the coolers. There's a lot of condensation on them. And Jolien Dore, the sports manager, now has to let go. Of course we're on her. Yeah, Justine Gekire, she went training on the Mont Ventoux, which is the final stage of the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift in August. And she also took her life partner with her. They started training over the winter, she told me this morning, to climb the Giant of Provence. And on top of the climb, Justine Gekire popped the big question, asking her girlfriend to marry her. And she said yes. So a lovely story while on training camp for the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. Gekire, who is back building up after injuries, kept her out of the racing for quite some time. And a big goal of the season is, of course, the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift, where 2 years ago she won a stage. Another rider, by the way, Justine Fikire, with a wonderful backstory, starting her career in cycling rather late. And that's the wonderful thing about the women's peloton. There's so many stories to tell you. Van Pachtebeke takes 3 seconds ahead of Cipressi. Let's see if 2 minutes behind this group, the peloton is actually interested in that remaining 1 second. We have a few riders in the same time. Lecour, Van Dam, Hebelin, Longoborghini, Reusser and Nievadoma are all at 48 seconds from de Vries. Kerbol just a little bit ahead of that. So yeah, maybe somebody in the bunch out of that group of riders wants to go for that 1 remaining second. Because in the end, that could mean the difference between being on the podium in the Tour de Suisse and not. For now, these 2 riders are cruising along nicely on their way to the second sprint. A Tissot kilometre, meaning 2 sprints in the span of 1 kilometre. And let's see if Van Pachtebeke wants them all. Yeah, she wants to have the second one as well. Passing Cipressi on the right-hand side. Cipressi onto the wheel, but Van Pachtebeke has a little bit more firepower in her legs than Cipressi, who's more finely built, more like a climber type. So 6 bonus seconds for Margot Van Pachtebeke, 4 for Cipressi. But more importantly for Van Pachtebeke is she gets a Tissot watch. FDG United Suez leading the bunch. We don't get any information about what's happening in the peloton at the moment to see if they're actually sprinting for it. For now, the gap of Van Pachtebeke and Cipressi is going up. Yeah, there is a sprint for the seconds. We have Franchi Koch leading out Lauren Dixon for the bonus seconds. Elisa Longoborghini is out there as well. Franchi Koch is such an amazing teammate. Absolutely instrumental in the wins of Vollering, also of Elie Chabet, and of course getting the big one herself. Let's see, Longoborghini and Dixon are sprinting for the last remaining second, and it goes to Dixon. Meaning that she's now 3 seconds behind Femke de Vries. And she also won the first one. So Lauren Dixon, according to my calculations, and they're not so difficult to calculate, is now only 2 seconds behind Femke de Vries on GC. We're racing well ahead of the faster schedule at the moment, about 5 minutes ahead of the faster schedule. Here's the confirmation of the exact same results of the 2 sprints. Van Pachtebeke, Cipressi and Lauren Dixon, meaning that Lauren Dixon got herself 2 bonus seconds and is now at 2 seconds virtually on GC from Femke de Vries. And I think that is the way that the other teams, including FDG Suez, but also we saw UAE Team EDQ out there, have to play it, because de Vries only has got 3 teammates to rely on in this race. And that is, of course, the weak point. She herself is incredibly strong, her weak point is going to be the strength of her team. A new attack with Mackenzie Copeland, Marta Lach, and for Phoenix de Koning, we have the former Austrian national champion. We have the Australian champion and the former Austrian champion, Carina Schrempf. Marie Lenette is trying to bridge across as well. Audrey de Keersmaker, Copeland, Marta Lach, Schrempf, Lenette, and Loes Aardegeest patrolling there for Lidl Track, protecting that breakaway of Margot van Pachtenbeke, her teammate. More attacks on the left-hand side of the road with Letizia Borghesi, following the move there of Ruby Roseman Gannon of Liv Jaco Alula. Also following this move for Canyon SRAM is Wilma Antila. We have Jasmin Lichti. Yeah, it's full on attacks right now, making it making life a little bit more difficult for our two leaders, Cipressi and Van Pachtenbeke. .120 is the gap at the moment with this little flurry of attacks that we saw happening. And we got more attacks happening with the team from Switzerland. One rider down with Linda Zanetti, their ace for the potential sprint that we have tomorrow. And the gap is now coming down to 1:15. Nice to see those little kids there on the right-hand side of the road cheering on the riders as we have Liv Jaco Alula on the counter-attack right now. The human-powered health car gets the go to move to the front. This is always a tricky moment, of course. We need refreshments for the riders up front, and for human-powered health, that is, of course, Carlotta Cipressi. The gap is still over the minute, and the roads here in the Ticino Valley are wide enough for Maggie Backstedt to move up with the team car. Because if in this weather, with temperatures approaching the 30 degrees Celsius mark, which is close to 90 Fahrenheit, you do not want to miss a bottle. That could be a potentially very harmful situation. So then you have to get your refueling from the team car. And that punchy finale that I spoke to you about is coming ever closer. First we have an intermediate sprint, 15 kilometers from this point. That is for the points classification only. And remember, the points classification here is a blue jersey to make matters rather confusing. And we saw yesterday when the gap was also for our leaders well over 2 minutes at one point, that you can actually close it down in a punchy finale. The two climbs that we have in the finale today, they have the names Fangi, after the town of Fangi, and Orselina, or the Fio Consiglio Mezzano. They're both third category climbs. They are not as difficult as the climbs that we had in the final yesterday, which were well in the double digits of average gradient. The first one that comes at starts at 17 kilometers from the line, so 20k from now, is 3.5 kilometers, just shy of 7% average. And then the Via Consiglio Mezzano is 1.4 kilometers. It starts just outside the 10k to go mark, and that is 8.8% average. I spoke to Zoe Backstedt this morning, and of course she was part of the first group yesterday, and then she completely cracked. She was not called back to the team car as I expected to maybe help out with Kasia Niewiadoma. No, she completely cracked. She told me in all honesty this morning. But if she had the legs to follow on the Monte Buglio climb yesterday, which was 3.5 kilometers, double digits, Zoe Backstedt is also one of the interesting riders for today, with her bunch kick, with her sprint on her, alongside somebody like Kim LeCour. Those riders can survive those climbs and could potentially sprint here in the streets of Locarno. This is Josie Talbot, former Oceanic national champion. Josie Talbot also no danger whatsoever on GC. She is 75th, 18 minutes, 27 seconds down. But she already is around 40 seconds ahead of the peloton. So kind of midway between the break and the bunch. We do know that that first attack is always the easiest to get that first gap. We know that from gaining a lap, for example, on the track. On the track for a points race or a scratch, you often see that the first half lap is easy, and then many riders just kind of drop back, and that's what you see on the road as well. So whether Josie Talbot manages to make her way to that front group remains to be seen. This is the motorway 2 of Switzerland. That is the road to the Gotthard Tunnel, one of the longest tunnels between Switzerland and Italy. From the top of my head, I think it is 24 kilometers long. I do remember when I first drove it, I think it was in 2020 when we had the World Championships in Emilia-Romagna, in Imola in Italy. I had a little bit of a panic attack because it was really endless. For those of us prone to anxiety and panic attacks, they do put the kilometers to go signs on them, so you can possibly count them down. Little nature break there on the side of the road for the legal track riders, as the motorbikes, for safety motorbikes, are moving up to get to the next point. Make sure that the roads are closed off for the riders to safely pass through. Got really, really good pace on her, Josie Talbot. 29-year-old from Sydney. Been part of this team since 2 years. 4 wins behind her name. One being the Oceanic Continental Championships, that was back in 22. She's won a stage in the Tour Féminin International de Pyrénées. That was the stage that was basically exactly the same as the one we did last week. That was won by Eline Janssen in in Pau, just outside of Pau. She won La Périgord, one-day race in France, and her last win came in October 25 when she won the third stage of the Tour of Chongming Island. But as predicted, she's kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place at the moment, bang in the middle between the bunch and the break. There's our two leaders. They still hold a gap of around 2 minutes with Cipressi at the front, the rider for Human Powered Health. She's from a town called Forlì, which is not really that far from Bologna, in the province or in the region of Emilia-Romagna. The province is called Forlì Cesena. And they're working well together, these two riders. And now the team car of Human Powered Health can move up to provide Cipressi with some much needed bottles, ice socks. Yeah, she's losing a little bit of ground here, Josie Talbot. We're 10 kilometers out from the intermediate sprint. And then we just go into the finale rather quickly. And then those 2 minutes, like we saw yesterday, could mean nothing at all for Cipressi and Van Pachterbeek, who have done a lot of work together, while most riders in the peloton just sat tight. 1,200 meters of elevation today, but most of it is in the final 20 kilometers with the two third categories climbs. No regular spots. At the tail end of the bunch we find Ushka Sigard. But with the legs that she had on display yesterday, Sunday should be a perfect day for her. When we have an uphill finish in Villars-sur-Olon in Romandy, all the way to the west in Switzerland. We're going basically through all corners. We're now in the south. Tomorrow we go to the east in Bad Ragaz, which is close to the border with Austria and Liechtenstein. Then we go to Aarburg, which is all the way up north, not that far from Germany. And then we go down south again to Villars-sur-Olon, making the transfers in this year's Tour of Switzerland very, very long. I was on the road yesterday, of course, and 4 hours after the finish, there were still team buses out on the road because, yeah, the road out of the valley where we raced yesterday, the valley of Valtellina, there's basically one road in and one road out, and that makes the transfer rather complicated. Roads were blocked as well by the incoming traffic of the men's peloton, so it was quite a hard day out for many of the riders, with a very early start, 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning, and then a transfer to close to 3.5 hours before they arrived in the hotel, and got food, massages, etc. We're now in the town of Monte Carrasco, just on the outskirts of Bellinzona, gradually making our way to the shores of the Lago Maggiore. Which literally means Greater Lakes, actually Lago Maggiore. And it stretches for about 64 kilometers, and that's where we're going. We'll see plenty of the azure-colored waters. You wouldn't be surprised that the Fortezza of Bellinzona that we see on that hill there is on the UNESCO World Heritage list. It's actually 3 castles and have been on the list since 2000. The peloton not interested at all in the sights as they start to prepare for what is coming up. 10 kilometers from now is when the road starts to rise, when we go through the town of Gordola, and that is the start of the first climb that brings us from 221 meters above sea level to 463 to Fungi. It's the highest point of the race. This is the big Autoroute, the big motorway through to the south to the Sankt Gotthard Tunnel, and to the north to Zurich and Basel. Another feed zone here. The last feeding is actually allowed until 8.8 kilometers from the line, and that is basically just before the top of the final climb in Oristina. Yeah, this is what I kind of predicted with Josie Talbot. You make ways. You make that gap rather easily, but I think she would have preferred to have somebody with her to help establish that. On your own, it's rather difficult because it's one woman against two at the front with Carlotta Cipressi and Margot van Pachterbeek working very well together. And she has to do all the work herself, Josie Talbot. Which is now going to be swallowed by the bunch again. 90 riders strong at the moment of peloton. 2 riders still ahead. But that gap is coming down as well for Van Pachterbeek and Cipressi. Meaning that everything is in place for a fantastic finale again. It's a short stage, only 105.6 kilometers. Meaning we have raced close to 80 kilometers now, just over. We had 4 kilometers of neutral. We see the vineyards out here in Bellinzona. It's home to many wines, and every year at the beginning of September they celebrate the so-called Harvest Festival, Perbacco. This year from the 3rd to the 6th of September. It's not only about wine, it's also about food, it's about music, it's about culture of Ticino. But of course, it's also perfect to sample some of the regional wines that we have in Ticino and in the Bellinzona Valley. Josie Talbot back in the bunch, meaning that we only have 2 leaders left on our way to the intermediate sprint. And that is where the final truly kicks off. After the intermediate sprint, we have a few kilometers of more or less flat roads here alongside the terraced vineyards. But then the road starts to rise with, in quick succession, 2 cap-free climbs. The peloton is traveling at full speed. The sprint that we have in Cunhasco is for points only. We don't have bonus seconds. That's only at the Tissot kilometre, where, to remind you, Lauren Dixon took 2 bonus seconds with the fantastic help of Fransje Koch. So Lauren Dixon is only 2 seconds behind Femke de Vries on GC. That's a very close margin for the rider in the yellow jersey. The only difference for the yellow jersey, she's on the right-hand side there behind the riders of UAE Team ADQ, is that she has that dark coloured patch. There she is with 112. That dark coloured patch on her back, because the colour is almost identical to the jersey of Ismailisa bike that she's already wearing herself. And now the gap is coming down rather fast, and despite the margin that Van Pachterbeek and Cipressi had, it's going to melt in the scorching heat that we have here in the province of, in the canton of Ticino. Locarno is actually one of the warmest places in the entire country of Switzerland, and on a hot day when most of Europe is experiencing a heat wave all the way up north to all the way down south. Yeah, being in the hottest place in Switzerland might not be a pro. And now the gap drops below the minute mark for Carlotta Cipressi and Macho van Pachterbeek, meaning that the neutral service car is moving up and the tension is starting to rise for everybody involved. We're still well ahead of the faster schedule at the moment. The sprint was indicated at 11:30 on our faster schedule of 41k an hour. Of course, we still have much of the elevation of the stage to go, but the stage has been fast, just like it was yesterday. There's the arch from Lidl, the supermarket chain, sponsor, of course, of Macho van Pachterbeek's team. 6 points. Leader in the points classification is, of course, Femke de Vries. 16 points for her. No points for either of these two riders. Yeah. Van Pachterbeek cruising through there. Picking up the 6 points. 4 points go to Cipressi. That means that we have 2 more points left. Let's see if anybody in the peloton is actually interested in getting those points. Yeah, they're very close behind at the moment. Nobody seems particularly interested in those points whatsoever. We find the rider of Movistar on the left-hand side. Now, it's hard to tell who took the points. Might be number 32, and that is Solbjörg Minke Andersson. Crunch time is almost upon us, my dear friends. And you can see the teams of UAE Team ADQ there with Brody Chapman moving to the front. Of course, Felisa Longo Borghini. The Movistar team with Sara Martin and birthday girl Lucia Perez. And of course, Marlen Reusser also moving up at the moment. FDG Suez United, they're all the way on the left-hand side of your screen, right-hand side of the peloton with Franchi Koch piloting Lauren Dixon. Remember, she is in a distinctive jersey. That is the blue points jersey is Lauren Dixon. Here's confirmation it was indeed Solbjørg Minka Andersson picking up the remaining 2 points. And this is what you have on these valley roads. You can see the trees behind. If you look at the radar, no wind whatsoever. 2-3 kilometers an hour, but there's always these sweeping winds coming down the mountains. That could cause a little bit of chaos. The first climb that we are going to do is the climb of Fanji. It starts at 17 kilometers from the line, and it's a little bit easier at the bottom. The first kilometer is around 7%, even a small part where it's flat. The steepest part, which is 9.3%, is in the middle bit, and then the final 500 meters are 7.5% again. And then the second climb of the day, that comes at 10k from the line. On top of the climb is at 8.3. That is a lot harder. 14.7 average. That is bang in the middle of the 1.2 kilometer long climb. But it starts with 11 straight away, and it's a technical run-in. And after that descent, where the peloton would most likely be completely stretched out, it's all about positioning to get yourself ready for that final climb of the day. Then comes a technical descent back into town, back into Locarno, where earlier today at 9:20 local time, we started the stage. Heroic people here doing maintenance. Looks like they're doing some paint work here on the electricity masts. Well, them rather than me. But you already knew from yesterday's Skybridge adventure and my fear of heights. So let's not get into that anymore. We have Zoe Backstedt there in second position. She said to me this morning that she felt well and that she would see what today would bring. Of course, not the ideal weather if you are a cyclocross superstar coming from Wales. Temperatures well into the 30s. It's not something that you encounter each and every day. But yesterday she coped well and was one of the riders I didn't expect into that first group. She herself also didn't expect herself to be in that first group, to be honest with you. And after that first climb, the Montembuglio, she completely cracked. She said in all honesty. And just before we start that final, or that penultimate climb of the day, our two riders are caught. Of course, we have a Rider of the Day award, also a trip to the podium. So let's see if they'll award it to Carlotta Cipressi or Margot van Pachterweke, who already gets herself a trip to the podium for the Tiso kilometer, and winning a watch on top of that. And this is the moment that Cipressi and Van Pachterweke are caught. And we have just a minute to go before we start that climb. It's all about positioning right now. It's all about getting ready, because you better start that climb in a good position, because we got hairpins for you. Through the town of Gordola. There we go. And then we go up to the hill there on the right-hand side. See the Lago Maggiore in the distance. This is where our finish actually is, just on the upside of where we are right now. We can almost wave at each other, but we're doing a little bit of a detour into the mountains above Locarno. This is Tenero, and then we move up. Hairpins, 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 hairpins. There they are. We go off the main road and we go up straight away with percentages of 7%. This first one is not the super hard one, as I mentioned to you before, but yeah, you want to be at the front. We see the yellow jersey. We see Marlene Reusser. We see Lauren Dixon there as well in her blue jersey. So we Backstedt on a little bit of a sprint train. The same goes for Jara Kastelein. Femke Marcus out there with Marta Lach. She didn't expect this morning that it would end up in a bunch kick, Femke Marcus. But she did explain to me that it is, for her, not a big problem that the finish is, that the final corner is at 200 meters from the line, because it will be completely stretched out, making it less of a hassle than when the finish was at 500 meters, or the last corner was at 500 meters from the line. First riders are dropping with Solbjørg Andersen, who did a lot of work at the front, of course, for her team leader, Cédrine Kerbol, number 3 on GC. Time to get ready right now with the Canyon SRAM. We find Justina Chapla there. Cédrine Kerbol in that white jersey. Lauren Dixon is in blue. And of course, Femke Vries is in yellow. Those are the 3 distinctive jerseys at the front. We also have the mountain jersey, the green mountain jersey, worn by Megan Arends. If we look at the points today, it's a 3rd category climb. Points for the Queen of the Mountains competition. The 3rd category climb gets you 3, 2 and 1. We do know that the Vries there, with Longoborghini on a wheel, is leading that classification. There's 6 points on offer today, and de Vries is leading that classification on Heberlin by 5 points, 11-6. So yeah, it looks okay for Femke de Vries to keep that mountain jersey, but of course it will all be about keeping that yellow jersey. That is more important than ever. Tomorrow is a rather flat stage. Then we have the time trial on Saturday and the big showdown in Romandy on Sunday. But first, the climb of the 3rd category to Fangi. There we have the situation on the climb, bang in between the fantastic terraced vineyards and a really, really elongated peloton at the moment. Marlene Reusser currently one of the riders at the front. She's at 48 seconds on GC behind Femke de Vries. And there she is at the front, very recognizable, the tall rider of Team Movistar. Francie Koch, she's done her work. She's done it formidably well, helping Lauren Dixon to 2 bonus seconds in the intermediate sprints and making sure that her team leader was well positioned before this climb. More ice socks there for Jara Kastelein. Kerbol in that white jersey with the pink helmet, really climbing well. Steffi Heberlin, she will be going after those points for the Queen of the Mountains. Kim Lecour, well positioned, one of my favorites for today, with her mountain bike background, her descending skills. Looks like Jara Kastelein is leading the bunch at the moment. Winner in Burgos recently, and before that, of course, a stage win in the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. Sarah Van Dam next to our race leader, Femke de Vries. hydroelectricity dam here in the Versaska Valley. I don't know why they always include a vulture sound when we have these beauty shots. There are vultures here in this region, probably, but somebody who works in cinema tells me that's one of the most used samples out there. And the first group is now whittled down to about 15, 20-ish. The gap is getting bigger. And look at how absolutely stunning this is. The region is really investing in more vineyards at the moment. It actually grew 20% over the last 20 years. We're about 200 meters above sea level, but profiting from excellent weather circumstances with high temperatures, but also lots of rain. Most of it is actually red grape varieties that we see here in these vineyards. About 10% is white, and they produce an average of 7.2 million bottles each year here in Ticino. And this represents about 7.5% of Switzerland's overall cultivated area. There we have an attack by Kasia Nevadoma. Femke de Vries is quick to react. Reusser is there, Hebelin is there, Kerbol, Van Dam, De Jong, Lauren Dix a little bit further back, Kim Lecour straight onto her wheel. Babette van der Wolf is out there as well for EF Education Oatly. But look how tenacious that attack and that grimace on the face of Kasia Nevadoma is. Yeah, she's 48 seconds down on GC, and Femke de Vries follows this attack rather easily. Look at Kim Lecour as well. A rider who could really stay with that first group today and get herself a stage win. She is my big favourite for today, Kim Lecour. But she has to follow this pace by Kasia Nevadoma. De Vries is following it rather easily, and the same goes for Cédrine Kerbol. And those are the numbers 1 and 3 on GC. Elisa Logoborghini is out there as well. Oh, it is vicious, these attacks by Kasia Nevadoma. 600 meters of climbing to go. Look at that distinct style of Marlene Reusser, following the wheel of her compatriot Steffi Hebelin. Well, Femke de Vries is not in trouble. Kasia Nevadoma is doing everything to get rid of the passengers on her wheel, but the top of the climb is almost here, meaning that Femke de Vries is going to pick up some points for that Queen of the Mountains classification as well. This is feeding for Kim Lecour, who really has the clarity of mind to stay there. Second group with Van Dam, Lecour, Dixon, Kerbol. These are the 4 riders: Nevadoma, de Vries, Longoborghini, Reusser and Steffi Hebelin. And of course, Hebelin has got some experience in mountain biking as well. Nevadoma is doing everything to make this group smaller and smaller and smaller. Van Dam is the last rider to join this group, and it shows the might of the very small Visma Lease bike team. Oh, Hebelin in a little bit of trouble right now, but I am impressed by Marlene Reusser on the gradients here. The gap is going out to the likes of Lecour, and also Lauren Dixon is losing some ground here. Look at the intense pace up the climb of Fanji. 500 meters to go. I miscalculated the previous time. Top of the climb is at 13.6. And Kasia Nevadoma is doing absolutely everything to make this race as hard as she possibly can. .300 meters to go, and then another technical descent with hairpins coming up. And then we go to Orselina. Oh, what an incredible pace set here by Kasia Nevadoma. She picks up the points here, 3 for her, 2 for De Vries, 1 for Longo Borghini, meaning that whatever happens next, Femke De Vries keeps the Queen of the Mountains classification lead, and that jersey that she'll probably not wear because she's looking mightily strong in that yellow jersey. She's got that 2-second gap on Dixon, but Dixon is not in this group anymore. Neither is Kerbol, who's 3rd on GC. So we're looking at a group of riders on her wheel who are all 48 seconds behind her. As we have a few bananas actually crossing the finish line here. I kid you not, the publicity caravan has reached the streets of Locarno. Somebody's wearing a banana suit. I do not envy anybody wearing a banana suit with over 30 degrees Celsius. Same goes for the Tourly Fox mascot that we have here. But that's a whole different story. We go into the finale with Elisa Longo Borghini, with Femke De Vries, with Malin Royce, Kasia Nevadoma and Sarah Van Dam. What a ride by the Canadian as well there of Visma Lease Bike. This is a moment where Steffi Hebelin gets the opportunity to return. QM, as I mentioned, with Nevadoma, De Vries, Longo Borghini. There's Hebelin again. The pace is going down. Reusser is setting the pace at the moment, meaning that Steffi Hebelin can easily come back. Does that also count for the likes of Lauren Dixon and Kim LeCour? Hebelin getting to the front straight away. And an attack by the Swiss national champion, Steffi Hebelin. Longo Borghini profiting from that move. And now Femke De Vries is in a spot of bother. Femke De Vries is dropped from that first group because the yellow rider in 3rd place. Oh, almost a crash there by Sarah Van Dam. Whoa, she managed to keep that upright. Sarah Van Dam, they're in 3rd position, almost lost that rear wheel. What a move. What a skill to keep that bike upright after that move there by Sarah Van Dam. But she must hear on the race radio that her team leader is now behind. You can tell them apart because Femke De Vries actually has got the, like a black square on her back where the sponsor logos are on that yellow jersey. But I don't know if we're going to see a repeat of that moment because, wow. There we go again. Look at the rider in yellow. Oh, what a save. What a save by Sarah Van Dam. What a save. Big respect for the Canadian rider. But we have lost our race leader at the moment. Yeah, she's glancing over her shoulder, Sarah Van Dam. Where is Femke De Vries at this point? Huh. Will she have a little bit of wobbly legs after that move, Sarah Van Dam? Yeah, she's taking this very cautiously, and can you blame her? We're now going full speed ahead to the final climb of the day. With 2 leaders at the moment, with Nevadoma, the Polish national champion, Elisa Longo Borghini, the Italian national champion. And this group, we have Reusser, we have Heberlin, and we have Sarah Van Dam. Where is our race leader? Where is Femke De Vries? I don't see her on this helicopter shot at all. She has got a healthy margin. It's 48 seconds. Because neither Dixon nor Kerbol are in the picture either. But what happened to Femke De Vries? She looks so incredibly strong on that climb. But maybe something happened on the descent here. This is Van Dam. There is Femke De Vries. Yeah, there she is with the black square on her back. Femke De Vries on a huge gear. She was already involved quite early in the stage in a little tumble, little touch of wheels. In this group we also find Lauren Dixon. Ha! What a final yet again for the women's race. Another fantastic advertisement for women's racing. There's Kim LeCour as well. Cédrine Kerbol, Lauren Dixon and Jara Kastelein. Femke Vries is just a little bit ahead of this point. Will she make it back to the front? And this is almost the start of the final climb, the Via Concilio Mezzano. 1.4 kilometers, average just over 9%. Steepest part is 14.7. The two leaders, the two national champions, Longo Borghini, Niewiadoma, followed by Reusser, by Heberlin, by Sarah van Dam, who's not contributing to this, well, is she? Her team leader is a little bit behind her. Longo Borghini, she is on fire. She missed lots of the classics period due to illness, but she was back in the Giro d'Italia, winning that final stage, and she wants this stage as well. Amazing bike riders all over the place here. Such courage, such gutsy rides by everybody. Marlen Reusser keeping her own pace, that incredibly, incredibly strong body of hers that we'll see on show on Saturday when we have the time trial. That's hers to lose. These are the chasers with our race leader, with the number 2, with Lauren Dixon, with the number 3 as well, with Cédrine Kerbol. LeCour is losing ground and is most probably not going to win this stage, but de Vries looks in a spot of bother, even following the pace of this group, with Kerbol, Kastelein, Dixon and LeCour. At the moment, de Vries is still virtually leading, but these riders can also go for the bonus seconds on the line, 10, 6 and 4 seconds in total. Longo Borghini, Niewiadoma, absolute gems for the sport of cycling. But the same goes for Marlen Reusser and the upcoming star from Canada, Sarah van Dam. From the province of Victoria, and Steffi Heberlin. Kim LeCour is the next rider, Lauren Dixon. Oh, whoa, whoa, Femke de Vries, what's happening? She said in the pre-race interview that she had trouble getting, that she had trouble sleeping with everything still going through her head after yesterday's maiden win, the first victory of the team of the year as well. She has to keep her own pace here. Did the tumble really affect her that much that we had around 70 kilometers from the line? Was it a lack of sleep and too much excitement yesterday? She's being overtaken right now by Talita de Jong. And now we have an attack by Elisa Longo Borghini, the Italian champion. She didn't win on Italian soil yesterday, but she is in the lead in the Italian-speaking province of Ticino in Switzerland. She is such a phenomenal bike rider, is Elisa Longo Borghini of UAE Team ADQ. .48 seconds down in GC, and that is at the moment also the time that Femke de Vries has lost on Elisa Longo Borghini. Reusser and Niewiadoma are all in the same time as Longo Borghini, so it might actually come down to bonus seconds, but for now she is in the lead. The top of the climb is 500 meters away for Elisa Longo Borghini. This is the attack from the wheel of Kasia Niewiadoma, seeing that Reusser and van Dam are getting closer. Wow, what a stage and what a show yet again by the women's peloton. The final very steep gradients of this climb, 14.7%, the steepest bit, we just did that one. And now we got 10% all the way to the top of the climb. There we go. Here are the points. Oh, please, sir, get off the road. Get off the road. And there is Elisa Longoborghini. It's about 5, 6, 7, 8, no, it's more than that. They're only at the top of the climb here, with Reusser joining Niewiadoma and Zara van Dam, who's not participating in this group whatsoever. Van Dam is also at that 48-second bracket from Femke de Vries, but Femke de Vries is over a minute behind. I'm quite curious to see, or to hear her story. Now we go into the descent on our way to Locarno with Elisa Longoborghini in the lead. She started today 7th on GC, 48 seconds down on Femke de Vries, and she is in pole position to get the yellow jersey. Of course, the Tricolore Italiana is an absolutely marvelous jersey, but the yellow jersey suits her so well as well. 60 wins, the stage win in the Giro d'Italia was her 60th win. She won on Jebel Hafid in the UAE Tour earlier this year, won the overall as well. And then, yeah, there was that one stage win in Trofeo Oro in Euro before her entire Classics campaign went pear-shaped with that virus that she had, the infection that she had in her throat, constantly coughing throughout the races that she did in Flanders and Dwars door Vlaanderen as well. But she's back, back with a vengeance, Elisa Longoborghini. But we still have a little bit of flat road before we cross the line. And that is, of course, where the group of free riders with the powerhouse of Marlen Reusser has the advantage over the lone leader. The end of our descent is at around 5 kilometers from the line, and then we are going to follow the shores of the Lago Maggiore with a little bit of wind coming from the lake. So that is going to be a crosswind until about a kilometer to go, where we have the Flamme Rouge, and then a little bit of a tailwind going into the final 200 meters. Longoborghini, one hairpin ahead of the three chasers. And Femke de Vries has officially lost that jersey now, a minute and a half already behind Elisa Longoborghini. Will it have been a sleepless night? Maybe the effects of the tumble that she had in that touch of wheels with Marta Lach at 70k from the line, going from an absolutely amazing moment in her career to losing the leader's jersey on a stage where I personally didn't expect it. And if you saw how fantastically she climbed the fungi climb following the wheels of Kasia Niewiadoma, I didn't expect her to lose this much time. But that is for later. Hopefully we'll get a post-race interview with Femke de Vries as well, explaining what happened on the stage. For now, it's about a stage win and about a new yellow jersey. This descent, it is hazardous. And she keeps on pedaling on the descent all the way to the shoreline. The last of the hairpins is about now. So we've done the descent of the Via Consiglio Mezzano. 5.3 kilometers to go for Elisa Longoborghini, but the roads are flat at the moment. She has a little bit of crosswind, a little bit of tailwind, because we're doing a kind of a detour into town. At this point, we're about 250 meters from the finish line, but we're taking a little bit of a detour for the final 500 meters to end up on the shores of the Lago Maggiore. She's losing some of her ground right now, is Elisa Longoborghini on the flat roads here. And with three riders chasing, well, Yeah, I think Van Dam is committed to it. Now she knows that Femke de Vries is quite far behind. She can now also take turns in that group of 3 with Niewiadoma and Reusser. We don't know where Lauren Dixon is. We don't know at the moment where Cédrine Kerbol is, but they're all behind. And we're on our way to a new leader in the Tour de Suisse after another phenomenal display of gritty and gutsy riding. The crowds have gathered here at the finish line in Locarno in the sunshine. We got some fruit salads here from the supermarket chain Lidl. We got some caps of the Primeo Energy, main sponsor of the race, protecting the public against the sunshine. There's not a cloud in the sky here at the finish line. For now, Van Dam is not contributing to the chase. And we know Elisa Longo Borghini, she's not giving up until the absolute final meter of any bike race. Giving everything that she can. There was a little hiccup, and now a descent again. And then we're going all the way to the shoreline. The final corner is at 200 meters to go, but we have got 2 90-degree turns in the final kilometer. Not a problem if you're on your own. And Elisa Longo Borghini, she is a racer at heart. She's absolutely showing why she is one of the most phenomenal athletes that we have in the pro peloton. That stage win on stage 9 in the Giro d'Italia was stage win 60, or win 60 of her career. Oh, what is Sarah Van Dam doing here? What is happening here? She was on the wheel of Kasia Niewiadoma. I think Niewiadoma and Reusser are taking the wrong way here. Niewiadoma and Reusser are taking the wrong way. They didn't follow the route on their bike computers. And Niewiadoma and Reusser, they have to chase back right now. It was actually Sarah Van Dam who took the right turn and not Niewiadoma and Reusser. So many stories happening today in this second stage of the Tour de Suisse. Van Dam is currently in 2nd position, and that means that she's possibly also moving up to 2nd overall for the Canadian rider, while Reusser and Niewiadoma missed that corner. 2 kilometers left for Elisa Longo Borghini. She's got this in the bag. There's no way that Sarah Van Dam on her own is going to close that gap. But the scenarios that are unfolding right in front of her eyes today, absolutely spectacular stage yet again in the women's peloton. Here are Reusser, Niewiadoma and Steffi Heberlin back together, but they lost some ground. Sarah Van Dam is up the road here on her own. But we know that Elisa Longo Borghini's got about 30 seconds right now on the competition. If we're kind of looking for our leader, that's not our leader. That is still Sarah Van Dam. But Elisa Longo Borghini is up the road. Yeah, they're now taking the right exit here off the main road. But now we are approaching the Flamme Rouge with the Campionessa Italiano, with the Italian champion, Elisa Longo Borghini, on her way to the double, both the stage win and the overall, taking some time on the competition. She is an accomplished time trialist as well. Flamme Rouge is upon us. Elisa Longo Borghini is leading at the moment on her way to a stage win here in the streets of Locarno. About 300 meters behind is Sarah Van Dam, giving everything to create as much of a gap that she can on the free chasers, on Reusser, on Niewiadoma and on Steffi Heberlin. A little bit further back we find Lecour and Dixon. Flamme Rouge now for Sarah Van Dam, but this is well over 30 seconds for her. Let's get back to the lead of the race, please. The glorious moment for Elisa Longo Borghini. What a phenomenal bike racer. What happy times for us that we can witness her in the races again after the spring season that went wrong with the illness that she encountered. This is that final corner. Look at the crowds that have gathered here in the streets of Locarno. The glory is all hers, but she keeps on riding all the way to the finish line because she knows that we still have a time trial coming up. We still have stage 5 coming up. But today is glorious for Elisa Longo Borghini. The Italian champion brings it home. She not only wins stage 2, but she also is our new race leader. Campionessa. There is Sarah Van Dam, who actually knew the route at 2 kilometers to go, looking at her bike computer, knowing that she had to take that left-hand turn there and not go straight ahead like Niewiadoma and Reusser did. She's crossing the finish line about 30 seconds back. And what a fantastic ride for the Canadian as well. Sarah Van Dam. And now we wait for Niewiadoma, for Reusser and Hebelin. Reusser is giving everything. Of course, she has to limit the damages on the line to Elisa Longo Borghini, but it's going to be 45, 46, 47 seconds for Hebelin. And Hebelin picks up the 4 bonus seconds just ahead of Reusser as well. This is Kim LeCour, Lauren Dixon and Cédrine Kerbol. Losing just over a minute on Elisa Longo Borghini, who is our new race leader with a margin of 30 seconds on Sarah Van Dam. This morning, she looked a little bit subdued in the pre-race interview, but she's smiling her characteristic smile yet again. This are Talita de Jong and Jara Kastelein, the 2 former cyclocross riders. Former world champion Talita de Jong, former European cyclocross champion Jara Kastelein. And now we wait for Femke de Vries. Tappe Emalia is what the Italians say. There's Zoe Backstedt. Top 10 place for her as well. Let's see what she can do tomorrow. Justine Takire out there as well. 2 minutes down, and there we have Femke de Vries in the distance. Losing well over 2 minutes. I'm curious to hear her story. Colin Swinkles congratulating
fun downhill.
Longo Borghini. That was actually fun downhill. Grande Elisa.
Cos'è?
There's Gina Caluore, who has crashed, as you can see, on her hip. Italian rider from Chur, region where we're racing tomorrow. Also Megan Arends coming across, Maya Kingma in the distance. Caluore there. Oh, hope she's not hurt too badly. What a day.
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah, yes, Elisa, that was fun to watch. Grazie.
Oh, yeah.
Here's our stage result. Elisa Longo Borghini wins the stage ahead of Sarah Van Dam, Steffi Hebelin, Marlene Reusser, Kasia Nievadoma, Finney, Kim Lecour-Pina, Lauren Dixon, Citrin Kerbol, Talita de Jong en Yara Kastelein. And our new GC with Elisa Longo Borghini leading Lauren Dixon by 27 seconds. Van Dam moves up to third, Hebelin, Reusser, Nievadoma, Kerbol, Lecour. De Vries now down in ninth, and Talita de Jong. That is our new top 10. These are the highlights of stage 2 of the Tour de Suisse. We're racing in Locarno to and from Locarno, 105.6 kilometers. 2 leaders for most part of the stage. In first position, the Belgian rider Margot van Pachtenbeke of Lidl Trek, and just behind her Carlotta Cipressi, there we go again, Cipressi of Human Powered Health. Van Pachtenbeke picking up the points, the seconds and the Tissot watch. Laura Dixon sprinting to the last remaining second in both occasions, not knowing, of course, that in the end it wouldn't matter at all. Still on the flat roads in the valley, we had a little bit of a counter-attack by Josie Talbot. She was brought back into the fold, and the gap of our 2 leaders was at a maximum around 2 minutes. But as we approach the intermediate sprint here at 23.1, the gap was already down to underneath a minute, and then we make our way to the first of the 2 consecutive climbs in the final 17-18 kilometers of the line. First up is the climb to Fungi, 3.5 kilometers, just over 7% average. Here we go. And the second climb is a much shorter one, but a much steeper one at that. Kasia Nievadoma, as our leaders were caught, set most of the pace with De Vries, Longo Borghini, Reusser close behind, Van Dam in that group as well. Femke De Vries making sure by picking up these 2 points that she keeps the Queen of the Mountains jersey. Then we had a little bit of a counter-attack by Kasia Nievadoma and Elisa Longo Borghini. Is Elisa Longo Borghini? She is there for Elisa Longo Borghini. She's such a popular person. She attacked on the second climb of the day, the Via Consiglia Mazzano, and then left Reusser, Nievadoma and Sarah Van Dam behind. At this point, Femke De Vries, our race leader, over 1 minute 30 behind. Missing from the highlights at the moment is that pivotal moment that Nievadoma and Reusser took the road straight ahead while the road of the race was actually going left. But Elisa Longo Borghini was already at the front by then, picking up not only the stage but also the yellow jersey. Tappe e maglia is what the Italians say, stage and jersey. Sarah Van Dam comes in second because she knew the race route, and Reusser, Nievadoma, they are going to kick themselves, are they, by that move. Reusser was just racing right ahead. Nievadoma followed the wheel, and Van Dam in third position was the only one who knew that the road was actually going to the left, the race course. Meaning that Elisa Longo Borghini is our new race leader. The Queen of the Mountains is still Femke De Vries. The points, I think the points jersey stays with De Vries as well. I'm not 100% sure. And the best young rider is now Sarah Van Dam. She gets the white jersey.
Dunque tra qualche istante terrà l'inizio la cerimonia di premiazione di questa seconda tappa del Tour de Suisse donne vinta appunto dalla campionessa d'Italia Elisa Longo-Borghini con 30 secondi di vantaggio nei confronti della canadese Sara Van Damme, terza posizione per la campionessa svizzera Seppi Aberlin a 47 secondi, stesso distacco di un altro svizzera Madeleine Rolser, mentre a completare la top 5 la campionessa nazionale della Polonia Kasia Doma, quindi a seguire le Four, Dixon, Kerbal, De Jong e Kastelin. Ancora qualche minuto e ritroveremo Elisa Longo-Borghini, le altre protagoniste sul podio per la cerimonia di premiazione. Gerne geben wir das auch auf Deutsch weiter. Ich habe Mitterle, großartige Etappen für die amtierende italienische Meisterin.
We're waiting for the podium ceremonies and of course the interviews and the story of Elisa Longo-Borghini. We already heard that she said it was much fun, that descent, but curious to know more about her day. Hopefully we also get a word from Femke de Vries. What a stage yet again. Pure advertisement for women's racing. Coming up right now is the interview with Elisa Longo-Borghini.
Congrats, Elisa. What a thrilling finish on this stage. How did you feel on the last kilometers?
Yeah, I felt quite okay. I didn't understand why Kasia was not turning with me, but then I saw that she was suffering a little bit and I wanted to try something. And then I found myself with a gap and I just went straight to the finish line. It was all or nothing, and yeah, this time I succeeded.
So in general, the plan for today perfectly worked out?
Yeah, definitely, and I'm super happy to have won here because I don't live far from this place. I live close to Verbania, so it's always nice to win somewhere close. My family was here watching me, and I'm pretty proud of the victory today, also for my team, UAE ADQ.
So in a very special day for you, tomorrow, third stage, a little bit different profile than today. What do you think about tomorrow?
Tomorrow we think about tomorrow. Then I think it's going to be, yeah, I don't know. I just want to enjoy the yellow for once.
So enjoy and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, she lives in Verbania, which is also on the Lago Maggiore, about 60 kilometers from here. So it was her mom there at the finish line. And this is the decisive moment. Doma set the pace on both of the climbs. But this attack decided everything. An absolute gem to the sport is Elisa Longo-Borghini. Just like Urska Sigart, her partner is also racing here. They're married, Jacopo Mosca of Lidl Trek. Very important domestique for that team. And the great thing about them is that they are two different riders in every respect. It is expected of Longo-Borghini that she wins bike races. It is expected of her husband, Jacopo Mosca, that he helps others win bike races.
Signore e signori, ora il momento della cerimonia di premiazione della seconda tappa del Tour de Suisse Women.
And here we go with the podium ceremony, first for the stage win.
Della UAE ADQ, la campionessa d'Italia Elisa Longo-Borghini. Elisa Longo-Borghini viene premiata da Giacomo Bianchi, sales manager della BYD, e da Raffaele De Rosa, consigliere di Stato del Canton Ticino. Gli applausi per Elisa Longo-Borghini. La premiazione appunto da parte di Giacomo Bianchi e di Raffaele De Rosa per la 13 volte campionessa d'Italia Elisa Longo-Borghini, che festeggia all'Ocramo una vittoria importantissima. Complimenti Elisa e ringraziamo Giacomo Bianchi e Raffaele De Rosa.
We will see her back for the yellow jersey.
della classifica generale, maglia gialla, Primeo Energy per Elisa Longoborghini.
And there she is in that yellow jersey. Look at the quick turnaround for the leader's jersey. They got a heat press behind. If you go to the official Tour de Suisse Instagram, there's a little image of how they prepare these leaders' jerseys so fast. There is the mascot, Turli, the fox. I do not envy that person at all in these temperatures. The GC, and look at the differences there. 57 seconds at the moment between Reusser and Elisa Longoborghini. This Tour de Suisse is proving to be an absolute hit. And the women are really making it a fantastic show for us to enjoy. Now we're waiting for Sarah Van Dam, our new best young rider. Runner-up in the stage. What a stage by her. That phenomenal save that she had, staying upright after losing her rear wheel. And then when Femke de Vries was in a little bit of trouble, she stayed up there. She knew the route. It's every rider's own responsibility to know the race route. You cannot just blindly follow the motorbike in front of you. You're responsible that you know where the bike race goes. And Sarah Van Dam did know that.
E siamo arrivati ora alla premiazione della maglia Lenda per quanto riguarda la classifica giovani. Miglior giovane in classifica generale dal Camera per Team Bismarisa by Sarah Van Dam.
There she is. Don't worry, tomorrow she get in more aero fit in that jersey, but what a fantastic rise through the ranks for Sarah Van Dam. Starting her racing career with DNA Pro Cycling in the UK only in 2023. I saw her almost win a stage that year. I think it was in the Tour de l'Ardèche. Yeah, fantastic rise through the ranks. This is only her first year with Team Visma bike, after 1 year with Ceratizid, a team that folded after last year. She was already third for Ceratizid in Itzulia. Yeah, her first win is coming closer. But it's not over yet for the Best Young Rider classification. It's going to be a two-woman race now with Sarah Van Dam and Cédrine Kerbol. Points, I think it's still on the shoulders of Femke de Vries. Let's see. Yes, indeed. Thankfully, my calculations were correct. Luckily, the smile is still there for Femke de Vries. And there is our banana person. I don't know if it's a woman or a man in the banana. It's hard to tell. But imagine being in a banana costume when it's well over 30 degrees Celsius. You get a rise for that. Yeah, this is the situation. Elisa Longoborghini taking 12 points for the stage today. But Femke de Vries took the stage and some intermediate points yesterday. So she's still leading that classification. It's a secondary classification. But yeah, she still gets to wear a distinctive jersey. And yeah, she's also still the Queen of the Mountains, by the way. So that is the final jersey that we're handing down. And we still have, of course, our Tissot watch. We have the rider of the day for you on the podium. But first, our Queen of the Mountains, and that is also still Femke de Vries. Because on the first climb of the day, third catch, she was the second one across the top. She was still very much part of that race by then. I'm curious to hear her story.
E siamo arrivati ora al momento della premiazione della maglia verde Eurocar, leader della classifica dei Gran Premi della montagna, Femke de Vries, Team Visma Bike.
This is the jersey that we'll see her in tomorrow, because I think in the Tour de Suisse the mountain jersey trumps the points jersey. She's leading both of those. But we'll see that tomorrow.
Ancora Femke de Vries, vincitrice della prima tappa, leader della classifica dei Gran Premi della montagna. Thank you. Siamo arrivati ora alla premiazione dell'atleta del giorno. Il premio finisce va a Lea Fuchs.
Lea Fuchs was elected rider of the day, the Swiss rider. We hope that teammate Gina Caluori is okay after that crash. Flowers with this weather, maybe not the best of ideas, but a nice 0% chilled bottle of JP Genet never did anybody any harm. And then the Tissot kilometer to Margot van Pachtenbeke. The watch for her. She'll be happy with that. It's a nice watch. Really making the race together with Carlotta Cipressi.
Protagonista di una bellissima azione in questa giornata viene premiata da Elisei in rappresentanza del Tour de Suisse, Margot van Pachtenbeke, Leader Track. E dunque con questo è tutto per quanto riguarda la cerimonia di premiazione della nostra comunità, rimanete con noi perché tra pochissimi istanti inizierà l'operazione preliminare della seconda tappa della prova maschile.
And that only leaves the preview for tomorrow. It's the flattest of the three as we go to Bad Ragaz. We've got hardly any climbing for you tomorrow as we start in Bad Ragaz. One climb at the start, but uncategorized. Then we have the Kobolwald climb that comes about halfway into the stage. It's the longest stage of the week, 120.8 kilometers. There is the Kobolwald climb, third category. We have an intermediate sprint in Rüttel. And you can hear from the towns that we are going to the German-speaking part of the country, to the East Cantons, where we are almost on the border with Liechtenstein. Not into Liechtenstein, that's on the planning for next year. And a final in Bad Ragaz after 120 kilometers. There we go. There's the profile. The easiest day, but a punchy kick to the finish line for us to enjoy. We'll be with you tomorrow, same time as today. My name is José Bain, and I do hope to see you again tomorrow from this rather wonderful and spectacular edition of the Tour de Suisse.